Hello, all. Hope you're having a great day today. Today, we are talking about the North American perspective on international sport. This is chapter 19. So, during the latter part of the 20th century, a number of events, companies, teams, and personalities transcended the isolation and limitations of regional and national recognition to become international sport brands across a broad cross-section of cultures, religions, and locations around the globe. And considering what is international sport, there are two factors. Number one, the context in which an individual, organization, or event operates within the global sport enterprise. And number two, the degree to which or the regularity with which action by an individual, organization, or event focuses primarily on the global stage. When discussing the international sport, the Olympics and Paralympics World Championships, the FIFA Men's and Women's World Cup, and major international events such as the Tour de France come into play. The Ryder Cup and the Tennis Grand Slam are among the giants of international sport. During the last 2 decades, sport enjoyed unprecedented international growth, mostly in first world economies like North America, Western Europe, Australia, and parts of Asia. This growth is evident in the dramatic changes in the Olympic and Paralympic Games, the increased opportunities for women in sport, and the redefinition of international sport. The extension of international recruitment and marketing efforts, and the introduction of countries from emerging economies such as Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa as potential hosts for major global sport events. Between 1968 and 1984, several events occurred that produced lasting effects on the Olympic Games. Change began at the 1968 Mexico City Games with the compelling and symbolic Black Power salute on the medal podium by American sprinters Tommie Smith and John Carlos. The Munich Summer Games of 1972 marked the birth of an international sport revolution. The West German government was eager to demonstrate its rebirth as a peaceful nation free of its dark past associated with anti-Semitism of Hitler and the Nazis at the 1936 Summer Olympic Games and the Holocaust of the late 1930s and early 1940s. As the world watched the incredible performances of athletes such as Olga Korbut of the Soviet Union and women's gymnastics and Jewish American Mark Spitz. In swimming, the prevailing idealistic sense that the Olympic Games were above international politics was about to be shattered forever. On September 5th, 1972, an 18-hour hostage-taking crisis involving Israeli athletes and coaches in the Munich Olympic Village held by the Palestinian terrorist group called Black September was watched by more than 900 million viewers worldwide. The crisis concluded with the tragic murder of 11 Israeli Olympic athletes and coaches and 1 German police officer. This tragedy permanently altered the perception that the Olympic Games were immune to the evils of the world. In 1972, there was also conflict between the competing principles of amateurism and professionalism in the Olympic Games. At both the Winter and Summer Games, some sporting goods manufacturers such as Adidas and Puma were accused of under-the-table payments to alpine skiers, track and field athletes, and swimmers. Such payments challenged the concept of amateurism that has been carefully promulgated and fiercely protected by American Avery Brundage, who was the IOC president from 1952 to 1972. The passage of Title IX of the Education Reform Act of 1972 set off a revolution in women's sports in the United States and indirectly around the world. Title IX challenged male privilege within the Olympic movement and other international sport federations. A critical effect of Title IX has been the slow but steady growth in the opportunities for sport participation of female athletes, as well as opportunities for female coaches, officials, and leaders in sport in the American context. Title IX has also led indirectly to a greater number of women assuming leadership roles within international sport federations. In 1995, a Women and Sport Working Group was established to advise the IOC Executive Board on policies regarding women's roles in international sport. This group became a full-fledged IOC commission in March 2004. Ironically, the composition of the IOC Executive Board in 2018 included only 4 women out of 14 members, and the members of the IOC included 28 members out of 100 members. In 2015, FIFA developed a 9-month female leadership development. Between 1992 and 2016, there was a dramatic shift in both men's and women's soccer. Teams from Africa, Asia, and the United States challenged the dominance of a few European and South American teams. In 1994, the United States successfully hosted the FIFA Men's World Cup, which was played before record crowds of spectators, 3.5 million, and television viewers, 2.1 billion worldwide. Despite scandals and fan violence, soccer has continued to expand its presence globally. New professional leagues for men have formed in Japan, Korea, and China. An elite professional league in the United States, the MLS, was restarted in 1996, and the U.S. team surprised many by finishing second to Brazil in the FIFA Confederations Cup in 2009. South Africa hosted the 2010 FIFA Men's World Cup, and it returned in Brazil in 2014. FIFA has successfully expanded from its traditional roots in Europe and South America to Asia, North America, Africa, and Russia, as highlighted by its highly controversial decision to award the 2022 Men's World Cup to Qatar. The first FIFA Women's World Cup was held in China in 1991. It was followed by the 1995 Women's World Cup in Sweden and the 1999 Women's World Cup in the United States, where more than 90,000 fans watched as a scoreless tie between China and the United States was settled by a shootout that was won by the United States. This victory gave the United States team its second successive World Cup title. With 2003 and 2007 World Cup titles, Germany earned its spot among the elite women's soccer nations, i.e. the United States, Norway, and China. The 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup was hosted in Canada, and the U.S. women's national team became the most decorated. During the latter part of the 20th century, many aspects of international sport changed profoundly. Among those changed were the advent of corporate sponsorship associated with the Olympic Games, a shift in the balance of power, and the emergence of soccer as a worldwide obsession. Faced with possible political and financial disaster, the IOC reluctantly altered its rules governing the corporate involvement for the 1984 Olympic Summer Games in Los Angeles. For the first time in Olympic history, the IOC allowed the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee to charge significant fees for corporate sponsorships that included the use of the Olympic rings. The financial success of these games touched off a sport marketing and event management revolution. The international expansion of sport has set off a flurry of activity in sport marketing. The NBA is now one of the most recognized sport brands in the world due to the league's global recognition and popularity among fans. In the 2015-2016 season, the top 3 selling jerseys in China were Kobe Bryant's, Stephen Curry's, and Michael Jordan's. In addition, the 2017 NBA All-Star Game was televised in 215 countries and territories in 49 languages. Successful and popular professional sport leagues and teams have formed business partnerships to broaden themselves as worldwide brands. In 1985, under pressure to allow professional athletes to participate in the Olympic Games, the IOC eliminated all references to the team term amateur and allowed each IF to determine its own eligibility rules. This landmark decision allowed professional athletes to compete in summer games and winter games and helped level the playing field between the state-supported athletes of the Soviet bloc and their Western counterparts. In 1988, professional athletes participated in the Olympic Games for the first time, and the 1992 Barcelona Olympic Games, were important for the United States due to the participation of the men's basketball dream team that included NBA stars. The end of the Cold War and the dissolution of the Soviet Union and East Germany in 1989 helped spawn sport market economies and the new nation states of Central and Eastern Europe. A similar emergence of sport market economies has occurred in South America, the Persian Gulf states, and Asia. A vibrant global marketplace based on the production and distribution of goods and services has stimulated a dynamic export-import exchange among many nations and regions. In the 21st century, countries new to the international sports scene have positioned themselves as attractive for global commerce and therefore attractive as prospective hosts of international competitions. A shift in global economies has occurred from the so-called G20 group of industrialized nations to emerging markets in Asia, such as India and China, and the Middle East, the Gulf states of Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Dubai, and Qatar. As a prospective sport management professional, you need to be aware of many issues in international sport. In this section, we'll talk about several concerns associated with international sport governance. A key step on your journey into international sport is developing an understanding of complex international sport structures. Eligibility for each Olympic and Paralympic related sport is governed and controlled by IFs and their related NSOs. Note that IFs have relationships with the IOC and the International Paralympic Committee, but they are not formally part of the IOC or the IPC. These IFs, therefore, sometimes differ from the IOC and IPC with respect to rules, athlete eligibility, competitive opportunities, and funding. Although the World Anti-Doping Agency has standardized drug testing sanctions for positive drug tests to which all sport organizations must adhere, over the past 30 years, a number of new entities have become involved in international sport governance. These changes reflect the evolution of international sport from a relatively small number of organizations that emphasized amateur sport to a highly complex set of interrelated organizations with billions of US dollars at stake. The following are 5 principal entities in international sport. Number 1, professional sport organizations such as sport franchises, the leagues, the tours, and circuits. Second is professional athlete unions and professional athlete representatives. Number 3, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, or CAS, which adjudicates issues such as international athlete eligibility and breaches of fair play, and WADA, an independent testing, research, and education organization that works to eliminate the use of banned performance-enhancing substances and techniques from international sport competition. And number 5, sport organizations and event sponsors that provide critical support and funding to athletes, organizations, and events. Numerous problems confront the governance of international sport. The following section focuses on concerns associated with governance, environmental sustainability, and the Olympic Games and gender equality. So in this section, we present guidelines to help you consider traveling beyond the borders of your country. You may choose to take advantage of study abroad programs offered by numerous colleges and universities, or you may work in an international setting after your studies. Developing skills suited for international work, as well as networking with key colleagues working across the globe, are imperative to a successful career in international sport. Hosting and organizing international mega events would be impossible without the support of volunteers and interns because they perform many of the day-to-day activities during the events. For the 2016 Rio Olympic and Paralympic Games, the organizing committee received more than 240,000 applications for 70,000 volunteer positions. Similarly, there were more than 150 volunteer applicants for the 2017 Confederation Cup and the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia. And 30% of those applicants were from abroad. You can gain invaluable experience by volunteering or interning at international sporting events. FIFA's volunteer program and the organizing committees of Olympic and Paralympic Games, for example, provide information on how to apply to be a volunteer, what qualifications and skills are needed, and how the interview process will be undertaken. Keep in mind that volunteer applications are accepted well before the event, often 2 years prior to the games. Internships at sport events and IFs are also available. If you plan to study abroad, you can investigate the professional teams, IFs, and national and regional sport organizations in the area. You should also research internship opportunities in the country. A potential resource for internship positions is Global Sports Jobs, which lists open full-time and part-time jobs and internship positions in the sport industry. Success in the international sport and the business sphere is predicated on personal contact and friendships. Attending meetings of national sport federations, professional sport-related associations, and other conferences and symposia helps maintain and expand your network of professional contacts. Time availability, relevance to your professional interests, and financial resources are important factors to consider when choosing the associations or conferences and trade shows, such as China International Sporting Goods Show, Seoul International Sports and Leisure Industry Show, that you want to attend. Volunteering at a major international sport event or conference or trade show is an effective way to gain access to the field and to the network. The symbiotic relationship among media sponsorships and powerful sport organizations often results in a Western-centric approach to international sport. Cricket is one of the most popular sports around the world, but its governing body, the International Cricket Association, and its international events are not well publicized in North America. To generate financial gain and expand their markets, media and sponsors are drawn to the IOC, the FIFA, and well-established North American and European professional leagues. Developing countries and their sport leagues, as well as other sport or governing bodies around the world, do not receive the same attention, and they mostly go unnoticed by many in North America. As a result, it is important for individuals within Western countries to be curious of sports in developing countries and their participation in international sports. Finally, when reading news or viewing media programming, it is important for the audience to appreciate the content from multiple perspectives. Consider the local context and culture and can critically analyze the information presented because of different interest groups and power differentials. This may require seeking some additional knowledge to learn more about the specific country. Here are just a few questions that I suggest that you look over. So what are 5 key changes over the past few decades that have contributed to the expansion of international sport? How have they done so? And name some of the emerging economies that are becoming attractive hosts for international competitions. What makes them attractive? And identify the various stakeholders, policy experts, and governing bodies that are involved in staging environmentally sustainable Olympic Games. and elaborate the efforts that IOC has put forward to address sustainability with the Olympic movement. And lastly, in summarization, organizations, events, and governance structures are deemed to be international if they are involved in the global context on a regular basis or as one of their primary functions. Current issues in the international sport includes concerns associated with governance, gender equity, environmental sustainability, and corruption. To be successful internationally, aspiring sport managers must have the appropriate skills and knowledge, open minds, and cultural sensitivity, strong communication skills, and business etiquette. The future of international sport will occur in a world that is becoming smaller because of technology. A global community that is aware of social and ethical concerns that can be addressed through sport, and a world citizenry that possesses a heightened commitment to environmental concerns related to reducing the negative impact on the environment. Career opportunities in international sport will expand for people who are oriented to the global marketplace and possess the ability to integrate new technologies, including the effective use of social media. I thank you for joining me today. I look forward to talking to you again. Have a great day.